I am the Sword Master! Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD necessary.
We're the podcast that recaps all episodes of The Big Bang Theory, no spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot.
Make yourself a grasshopper and enjoy the ride.
Hello there, Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We just watched episode 3.
The Fuzzy Boots Corollary?
Corollary?
Corollary, that's right. I'm looking at my notes and I had a D in there. I don't know why.
Yep, the Fuzzy Boots Corollary. It's episode 3 of season 1. But I just actually wanted to get started on a little bit of housekeeping stuff. We actually started a Twitter account. So if anybody's interested in following us on Twitter, I'll try to update this as much as possible. Ryan and I are pretty much novices and boomers when it comes to technology. So Twitter can be a little bit, it's a little intimidating, but if you want to follow us, we are at Theoretical Pod.
We're trying to figure out the Twitter.
Yep, the old Twitter. We also just started an email, so if you want to email us any questions, comments, or anything like that, or questions or things that you liked about the TV show or Big Bang Theory, or just want to connect to us, we're at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. That's theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. All right, housekeeping over. So how have you been since the last episode? I've been wanting to tell you I actually went out and got Thai food.
Nice. How was it? Did it help with your digestion?
I didn't get curry. I actually ended up getting pad Thai. I got the Thai wings and honey pork over rice and the Thai tea.
And how did you eat it?
With a fork and a spoon.
Nice.
Yeah. No chopsticks at all.
No chopsticks. Great.
They didn't even offer them. Which,
really?
Yeah, I'm okay with, because that's the proper way.
That's the proper way. They know what they're doing.
Yep. So, have you had a chance to tally up your Sheldon Ryan points?
Right now, we're still just at the 1 and 1. If more come up in this episode, but right now, we're at 1 and 1.
All right, not too bad.
I'm going to be kind of critical on this. I'm going to try to. I feel like there's lots of points I could be like, oh, there's a point, but it's going to have to really speak to me to add a point to either side.
Yeah, I agree. You can't be really willy-nilly with it all. It's got to mean it.
Yeah, this is a serious count.
Of course. So if this is your first episode listening to us, Ryan has actually been associated with Sheldon Cooper. Like, when they first meet him, they think he is Sheldon.
It happens from time to time. They go, have you seen The Big Bang Theory? You're a lot like Sheldon. And I'm like, never seen it, but that's not the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, so I don't know how to take this.
Thank you, maybe, I don't know.
Well, we'll be the judge of that after 12 seasons.
And so we're taking points on if I'm more like Penny or other characters versus am I most like Sheldon. And right now it's 1 and 1.
All right, cool. Do you remember what the points are? I'm trying to remember.
I have them down somewhere. Wearing t-shirts that are festive was for Sheldon. And I think the cleanliness, being clean, I am not like Sheldon.
All right, well, it's a good tally so far, so we'll see how many points you accrue in the next episode. All right, so today we're talking episode 3, the Fuzzy Boots Corollary.
Corollary, not Corollary.
I hope I'm saying that right.
No, I just messed it up.
It was aired October 8th, 2007, written by Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady, the show's creators. And it was directed by Stephen Malaro. A quick summary of the episode. Leonard still fancies Penny, but when he sees her kissing another man, he decides to ask out an acquaintance of his. This failure leads to Leonard wanting to get a cat to fill in the void of his loneliness. Sheldon talks him out of this and results in Leonard asking out Penny on a date. All
Date,
right.
like in quotes, date.
Yeah, was it really a date?
Was it a date? Was she
Spoiler.
dated?
So, spoiler on this one, no.
No, not really.
All right. We open. All right. Opening scene. All the guys are in extreme concentration. They are having what I thought at first what was a LAN party, but after thinking about it, it's not, because it's an open world of World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it definitely reminded me of LAN parties back when I did LAN parties as opposed to playing online. But you're right that it's an open world, right?
Yeah, to all the youngins out there, a LAN party stands for Local Area Network. It means that you had to play within the exact same network. So you pretty much had to be on the same connection. You had to be near each other in the same room. Whereas these days, everything is based off Wi-Fi, stronger servers, and everything like that. So you don't really have to, but it's always fun to be in the same room.
I was gonna say my back in my day, we would take Xboxes or PlayStations, and they would have the cords that you would directly hook up to each of them to link them up because they wouldn't even get online, right? As before Wi-Fi. And so I was playing like Command and Conquer on PlayStation through this landline. And it is fun. There's something to be said to be in the same room and be talking while you're playing and blowing up your friends' bases or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and yelling and screaming each other like in each other's faces. And then there's always pizza, chips,
Always
booze, and stuff
pizza.
like that. It's a magical time.
A lot of grease on the keyboard and controllers. Always. Oh, those were
Well,
the
the
days.
guys, yeah. Well, the guys are at the outside of the gates of Elzebub, and Leonard tells everyone to not panic. This is what the last 97 hours have been about. I
97
can relate.
hours.
I can relate. They enter the gate. Raj freaks out. Oh my god, so many goblins. And Howard freaks out. Slash and move, slash and move. And then Sheldon gets the Sword of Azeroth.
He
I love the intensity of all of them. Just like,
so intense.
yeah, I still play with this amount of intensity.
And
Not
we've been talking about how Sheldon is pretty selfish, so as everybody else is like working as a team, he's on his own, doing his own thing. Which you would think in
he
97 hours they would have prepared for that, but
You'd think that they would know Sheldon well enough to know that this is going to happen.
yeah. So he steals the sword, right?
Yep, he steals the Sword of Azeroth and he sells it on eBay.
Immediately, he basically steals the sword, logs out while they're all still dying with the goblins, and
Yep.
they make a joke about his character. He's a night elf, right?
He's a rogue night elf. It's
Rogue
in his
night,
character.
which that might be a point for me being Sheldon because that's the group I tend to be when I play video games or RPGs. As long as I can get into the elves and the night elves, and I love rogues. So
Yeah, it's too bad Ryan and I played Diablo 2 Resurrected, and there are no night elves, all human class characters in that one.
mm-hmm.
But this got me thinking about selling virtual items online. Have you ever done that? Have you ever bought anything or sold anything?
I've never done the virtual stuff, and it's becoming more of a thing with what are they, non-fungible tokens and FTs.
Yep.
But before those, people were still doing it. I've never. I think I've had friends who've sold items online, but I've never purchased or sold what I've gained online. How about you?
I haven't. I looked into it. I used to trade a lot in Diablo. I never played World of Warcraft, but I did a little bit of research on this one.
Mhm.
This really isn't an IQ point. There's nothing intelligent to learn off this. But
I have it as an IQ point on mine, but it's really not that big of an IQ point.
it's unless you I don't know if anybody well, depending on what the item is and what the game is, you could turn this into a career. But maybe you found a different price than mine. But I did a little bit of research on what the most expensive World of Warcraft items were sold on eBay.
What'd you find?
So I found a site that said the most expensive World of Warcraft mounts. So it was different. It was based off the different category. So the
Yeah.
mounts. So there was the Reigns of Swift Spectral Tiger, which sold for $990. The Blazing Hippogriff sold for $390. Ghastly Charger's Skull, $390. Most in terms of weapons, the most expensive was the Chromatic Sword, $460, and the most expensive pet was the Guardian Cub at $33. But these, again, if you're a World of Warcraft player, you may have sold something for more, but it may just not have been documented. These were the most expensive documented items on World of Warcraft.
So you thinking Howard paid around $300 to $400 for that sword?
I can see that.
You can see that? That's
I
realistic.
can see that. Yeah, I mean, what else do they spend their money on?
That's true. The T1 internet, right?
Yeah.
That's their
If you
big
actually
thing.
look at if you look at the background of at least Leonard and Sheldon's home, there's a lot of figurines.
That's true. And brand cereal. I
Yeah.
was going
But
to say
I
that.
actually, oh, sorry,
Go,
I'll let
go
you
ahead.
go.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I found this other website, odelio.com, that
Mhm.
said that one of the most expensive items or in terms of actual dollar value, is Tibu's Blazing Longsword, which has a value of $2,000 to $4,000.
Wow.
Didn't say it was actually ever sold for that much. It was just valued at that much.
Are these just like randomly generated items that you find in the game? I haven't played World of Warcraft either, so
I would imagine it's very similar to Diablo,
don't.
that there is actually a finite number of items
Mhm.
and there is certain rarities of them.
So it's kind of like magic cards and booster packs. When you get a drop, you have so much chance of finding this really rare item.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was going to say I found information that a character account was sold, and the character had many rare items and elements to it. Zuzo for $9,500. However, once it came out that account was sold and traded like that, the account was banned. So I would say there's some buyer's remorse there, my guess.
A lot. Oh my god, that sucks.
Right? Ugh.
That sucks that you can't just like sell a character and just like sell your account or something like that.
Yeah, I need to look more into the technicalities and legalities of that because it seems like if you can sell a sword, you can sell your mount, your pet. Why not sell your
Yeah.
character?
Well, I did a little bit more research on just selling items in general.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like World of Warcraft is really big, but like what's the most expensive online item that has been sold for a digital world?
Uh huh.
And according to nolitzer.com, the highest selling item in a game was in the game Entropia. You can buy a whole planet in that game. A company named Virtual Worlds (SEE) sh- uh, showed that when they negotiated a deal to buy the planet Calypso from Mindark Studios, in the end, the final price was over $6 million.
Whoa.
Have you heard of that game, Entropia?
I don't think so. I think I've seen the name, but I haven't seen pictures of it or really know what it is.
I've never heard of it, never seen of it. So I did a little bit of research into what it was just so I could understand it.
Uh huh.
And it's an MMO RPG. But it's basically if that meets Facebook Meta.
Hmm. I was imagining it was something like a Second Life, where it's Second Life is like a Facebook meta, right? There's no actual objective except to live another life. And I've heard stories of people making and selling stuff on there, like you said, as a career, but never a whole planet.
Yeah, in terms of meta, I actually looked into buying land there at one point.
In Second Life or in Facebook meta?
Oh, in Facebook Meta, because they're actually selling land there, just like real estate. I
Huh.
looked into it. Didn't get very far in my in my research. It was very complicated, and honestly, at this stage, I don't know if I trust it.
That's my big thing is
Yeah,
I pay for it and suddenly never mind, the land's gone. What?
yeah.
That was my
Or
land.
just become or it becomes valueless. I tried to
Yeah.
install or I tried to put like a Starbucks there or something. I don't even know. But what's more relevant for us is I looked into what the most expensive items sold in Diablo 2. At least Diablo 2 Resurrected. I don't know about the original, but it
Oh,
was actually the most expensive item sold that was documented was a rune word base. It was a 6 socket sword sold for $300.
seems like a fair deal.
Which makes sense because Diablo 2 is a lot older. It's not
Yeah.
as relevant these days. I feel like Blizzard brought it out just for nostalgia's sake.
Uh-huh.
So it makes sense that it wouldn't be that much, but it's a little crazy that it's a rune word base.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing, like you said, it's traffic too, that more people play World of Warcraft and have invested so much time into that you get the supply and demand that there's that many people who want the rare stuff. And with Diablo 2, it's quite bit fewer players are playing it, um,
Especially on PlayStation. There's
especially on
nobody on
PlayStation.
PlayStation. If I don't have you in my game, I have no one.
Aw.
So lonely.
All right,
Well,
so oh, go
did you
ahead.
find any other research on the buying and selling?
Um, the only thing I saw, and I didn't even write down the price, was somebody in Second Life built, how was it, Amsterdam, like the whole city, and sold the whole city. And I didn't really get much into details of how detailed the city is. Is like actually 1 by 1 ratio, but at the same time, what's on that planet that they bought for $6 million? A
I have
whole
no
lot of
idea.
desert, right?
No clue.
Imagine it's like one of those Super Mario Universe planets that's like very tiny, and they buy it and they're like, "What did we just buy? We can walk around this planet in like a minute."
Like you said, Howard buys the Sword of Azeroth and screams, I am the Sword Master!
I love
But
that because it's jumping hands so quickly without any embarrassment that he just bought it. It's like if you buy it, it counts, and you are the sword master.
doesn't matter, it's in his possession.
There you go.
But it got me wondering if that was actually even like a real place in the World of Warcraft. And based off, because Ryan and I have never played, I just wanted to see if that was even a real place. The Gate of Elzebub or the Sword of Azeroth. Short answer is no. They're not real places or a real sword. They just made it up for the show.
Interesting. And this is we're assuming they're playing World of Warcraft, right? They could be playing a different game, but
Well, Azeroth is the home world of the
oh, so it
of
is.
Warcraft.
There's
Yeah,
just not
yeah,
a sword of Azeroth. I gotcha.
yeah, yeah. I know this because I watched the movie.
Aww.
I was very excited for a World of yeah, it was called Warcraft, I think. Yeah, it was just called
Warcraft.
Warcraft. They got some pretty big names in it. They got the guy from Vikings in it. They got I think Paula Patton was in it. Like there was some like pretty big names. It seemed pretty high budget. I had faith that if this went well, Blizzard would open up for more movies. Like imagine if they did a Diablo movie or a StarCraft movie. Like imagine like that's why my hopes got high and then I watched it and I was like that's never gonna happen now.
Oh no, never mind.
Wah, wah.
I've been thinking about that old Super Mario movie and like how excited as a kid I was for it, and then watching it, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I just watched, but that was not Super Mario.
That was weird. That was
Yeah.
really weird. Yeah, it was from the 80s. I remember John Leguizamo was Luigi.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it. Shoot, who played Cooper? Who played Bowser? It was a pretty big name.
Oh.
Oh, fuck, I have to look him up.
Yeah, look it up. I have it
I
on
have
the
to,
tip of
I
my
have to.
tongue. The only other thing I can really remember is the reptile head, the guy with the small reptile head.
Bob Hoskins was Mario. John Leguizamo was Luigi. Dennis Hopper was
Dennis
King Koopa,
Hopper. That's right.
and Samantha Mathis as Daisy.
Hmm.
Oh, it was Toad. It wasn't Yoshi. Like the weird thing was supposed to be Toad.
Excuse me.
Yeah, they really did that movie an injustice.
I just have no idea what happened there.
There was another famous name in World of Warcraft that, oh my god, it was. All right, top cast was Travis Fimmel, who was from Vikings, Paula Patton, Ben Foster.
Imposter.
Yeah, he was in it, and Dominic Cooper. It's like some really big, like some fairly big names. I guess they're not like huge. Like Ben Foster was pretty big for a while. Travis Fimmel was big because of Vikings. I haven't really
Mm-hmm.
seen him in anything else.
But
But
still
yeah, I mean,
decently big stars.
yeah. You know
And
what, Blizzard, if you're watching or if you're listening to us, please make a StarCraft movie. I don't even care who's in it. I don't even care how bad it is. I will watch the shit out of that.
I would watch that a couple times. And it feels like you have so much content you can't really go wrong with a story. Hopefully, I
Yeah,
mean,
they actually have a lot of books out there too, in addition to the gameplay.
but man, if they end up with a little reptile-headed guy named Toad, I'm gonna be upset. No, no, they're pulling another Super Mario. No, what happened?
The weirdest thing about that was their last name. Both of them had the last name Mario, so it was Mario Mario and Luigi Mario. What the fuck were they thinking?
And it's the same time of like the Mortal Kombat movies. I thought the first Mortal Kombat was okay. The reboot recently I thought was pretty good too. So they can make decent video game movies. Just usually they suck.
I'm trying to think of the best video game movie out there.
You know, there's one. All right, so the one I'm thinking of is Werewolves Within.
And that was based off of a video game?
Yeah, and it's a video game that I've never played. I hadn't really heard of. But it's basically like a. I think the game itself is kind of like a mafia game where certain people have roles as the werewolves, and some certain people have townsfolk roles, and they vote who to kill. And the movie is that there's one werewolf, and the town is in this house together, and they're trying to figure out who is the werewolf, and they're kind of pointing fingers and trying to kill each other, even though no one knows who the actual werewolf is. And I found it to be a good horror comedy. But again, it's very loosely based on the video game. So I don't know if that actually counts. I'm going to say it counts. Super Mario's was loosely based on the video games, and that counts. That's a total
I'm gonna say it
disappointment.
counts.
It counts.
It
It
counts.
counts.
Yep. All right. Well, moving on.
Moving on.
All right. We move on into the next scene after the credits, and Sheldon is tired and he wants to log into Second Life and go swimming. They overhear Penny laughing, and Leonard needs to bring the mail he steals back to Penny. Howard comments that it's an old school technique and he likes it. Another illustration of Howard being a creep.
Howard definitely brings his creep out in this episode. He later says he's an expert in sexual harassment law, and
He would need to be.
he would need to be. I'm like, whoa, okay, we're taking a few steps in the wrong direction, Howard. What's going on? But
Yeah, it makes me wonder how many times he's done that and how many people he's done that to.
And we're laughing about it, but at the same time, it's kind of scary. Like I'm
It's
like,
very red flags. A lot,
very
of, a lot of red flags
lot of
on
red
Howard.
flags for Howard. Yeah, yeah, I would feel uncomfortable being too close to him. Honestly, my thought in the scene is, how did he get her mail? Like, they said he took it, but don't apartments have like lock boxes? Like, did he break her mailbox open?
I thought the same thing. Unless he like legit accidentally got it, but he did say like, didn't they use the word steal? Or did
Yeah,
they?
yeah. It definitely gave the impression that he took it on purpose. Now, if that's
Yeah.
stealing,
Yeah, I don't know how he actually got it because they actually show them in several scenes in the future that they actually have like a lockbox per apartment.
and this isn't
So I'm
like
not. Yeah.
old houses. Like I'm thinking in like suburbia where the mailboxes were in the front yard, and you just go up and open up the mailbox and take whatever you want. But
My parents still have that right
really,
now.
I
Yeah.
figured those went by the
Everybody has a
wayside.
lock on it.
Oh, they
Yeah.
all,
They
yeah.
Oh, they don't even have a lock on it right now. They still just have the original, I think. It's been a
Wow.
while, but I'm pretty sure.
I was gonna say, around I think it was January. My neighborhood has mailboxes with locks, and somebody actually cut one off at the base and took the whole thing.
Did
Like
they
they
know that?
must have had like
What?
something to solder it off with or cut it. It was a really clean cut. I don't know. And how do you even haul that away? Put it in the back of a truck bed, and you have to have a couple guys.
Is
That
getting
is
junk mail worth the effort?
right. I imagine that, I'm building up like this awesome movie story that they knew something was in there, either like a diamond shipment got shipped to some random person in my neighborhood, or maybe it was more like what's that movie called? Road Trip, where the sex tape gets mailed, and they're like, we have to get that sex tape back, and the only way they can
Yeah.
get it back is by cutting off the whole mailbox. There
There it is.
it
Road
is.
Trip 2. Written by Ryan.
Road Trip to Suburbia.
All right. Well, Leonard hops out into the hallway, and there he meets Doug. And Doug asks, "What's up, bro?" And he's wearing a classic 2000s graphic tee. Ugh, what a style back then. I had so many graphic tees in the 2000s.
I still have graphic tees. I love graphic tees.
Well, you got something on your shirt right now. What does it say? Eat something?
Oh, this is a St. Patrick's Day shirt.
Oh,
It says
wait.
eat,
Eat,
drink,
drink.
and get lucky. St. Patrick's Day, Las Vegas.
All right.
It's like it's not St. Patrick's Day. I'm not in Vegas, but I figured nobody was going to be seeing me today, so it's a nice, comfy shirt.
Yet I see you.
You see me and you judge. There's so much judgment right now.
I'm not even sorry. Leonard gives Penny her mail, and Penny says that she wants to talk to the mailman. But then Leonard talks her out of it because civil servants have a tendency to snap.
Yeah, and he's really this is going with the thought that he stole the mail because the postman was doing his job and did it right. So he's like, no, you don't need to talk to him.
Yep, no. But this leads us to our first IQ point.
IQ point.
I looked into, do postal servants actually snap? And what is the history of going postal?
That's the term, right?
Yep. In American vernacular, going postal means to go uncontrollably crazy, maybe to the point of homicidal violence. This became a thing because of events in the US from the 1980s to the 1990s. The incident that coined the phrase happened on August 20th, 1986, in Edmond, Oklahoma, according to Medium.com. The shooter, Patrick Henry Sherrill, he had all the signs of a mass murderer. He was a loner, not close to friends or family. He was considered eccentric and bullheaded. He would stare at women in the most creepy ways. Kind of like Howard.
Howard.
He had a reputation for prowling around his neighborhood, peeping on women. He got the job at the post office where he had disciplinary issues. He thought he was being targeted by management and would tell his coworkers he would get revenge. On August 19th, he was given a formal reprimand, which would be the last straw. The next day at 7 a.m., he went to work, locked all the doors, and shot up the entire place. He killed 14 people and wounded 7 others before killing himself. That was the first of 15 shootings by Postal Service workers from 1986 to 1999. So that is the history of going postal. It was actually a huge thing in the United States.
Huh. How many did you say? 15?
Yeah, so from 1986 to 1999, there were 15 shootings revolving around Postal Service workers. So statistically, it's actually not very high.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things that the media just kind of twisted it around and built this phrase about going postal and building this bad reputation about postal workers.
Sensationalizing it. I was pretty young, so I probably that's why I don't remember a lot of those reports. But there's a movie called Tales from the Crypt Demon Night, and there's a postal worker who's constantly complaining. He's kind of creepy, but he's like, they're blaming for me for all this missing mail and this and that, and I don't understand why everybody hates me. At the end of the movie, he's already dead, but they find in his room all the missing mail and a bunch of guns, and they're like, "Whoa, he is going postal!" And I think that's what stuck out to me from like elementary school. Like, oh, this is a term. This is what happens. But like you said, statistically, it's not that much, but we did build up this stereotype, right?
Yeah, and speaking of Demon Knight, I haven't thought about that movie in a really long time. Oh my god,
Oh, I think
that's
of
a
that
deep
movie
cut.
daily. I love that movie.
I remember the little girl that turns into a demon that like bursts into like this giant demon or something like that and like just starts going on a killing spree. It's like, holy shit, what the fuck am I watching?
Remember the bad guy? Oh, can't remember his name, but for some reason, the scene that sticks out in my brain is he unzips his pants and like a line of fire shoots out, and he's like, "Whoa, boy, calm down," and puts it back in his pants. I'm like, what did I just watch? Like, this is me in 4th grade or whatever. I'm like, I
Yeah, we
love
were
it, whatever
young
it
when that came
is.
out. Yeah, oh my god. I remember being on the school bus looking at like Tales from the Crypt comic books with a friend of mine.
I mean, when what we had to compare that to was Super Mario Brothers. No wonder we liked it so much.
Facts.
Facts. All right,
Well,
so
I looked into the actual likelihood of postal servants actually snapping.
yeah.
And based on the research, it's not very likely. This all stemmed from the media over exaggerating the situation. According to an article on straightdope.com, there is no more likelihood that a postal worker will be slain at work compared to any other job. However, the job that would lead to the highest likelihood of being murdered or being in some sort of altercation, any guesses?
I want to say, oh, I don't know. I was going to say bouncers, bar staff.
That's actually a really good guess, but I didn't see where they were on the ranking.
Uh-huh.
But it's actually taxi drivers and chauffeurs.
Oh.
Homicide rate is more than 121 times that of a postal worker.
Wow. And I guess that's how we get that movie Taxi Driver with De Niro, right?
Well, yeah, it's also God, it's very like current to times now. How there's like a lot of violence with like Uber drivers.
Yeah.
Like either they get attacked or they attack someone else. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah, I've been in Uber cars, or I try to do Lyft, but there's a couple where I'm like, I hope I don't say the wrong thing. I might make this guy mad. And I get home and I say thank you. I give a tip and I run away.
Yeah. And then you give them a 1-star review.
Yeah. And then I
Such a
say,
Karen.
"Get me now," and I wave from the window.
Lenny goes back to the apartment, very sad, and Sheldon asks Penny for your thoughts. And Leonard tells them that he saw Penny kissing another man, And then Howard, again, being a huge perv, asks for details on the kiss.
What type of kiss was
And
it?
to defend himself, he calls himself a romantic.
Hopeless romantic, and that it's love is a marathon, and you don't give up until they fall in your arms or they press charges, right? Hit you with pepper spray. That's what it is.
Pepper spray, yeah. What the fuck, Howard? How many times have you been pepper sprayed?
Seriously. Whoa.
Yet another red flag. We should almost count the amount of red flags that Howard has.
Seriously. It'd be another score. But man, that's going to get long very quickly.
So Leonard proclaims that he is done with Penny and he will go for girls his own speed. He mentions Olivia Geiger. And Sheldon responds, the dietitian in the cafeteria with a limp and lazy eye? Yeah, I don't think you have a shot there.
Yeah, she's out of his league, right?
So sad for Leonard.
You know, I'm going to side note. I think it was around this scene where I noticed that the cereal was like all gone on top of the fridge. There was a shot of Sheldon, and they have like one box of cereal. I'm like, what happened to all the bran? Where's the fiber?
He needed some fiber.
I guess they all ate it.
And, crank it all out, yeah.
So yeah, he's talking about other girls he might have chances with, and he's not going to be able to get with the lazy eye and limp woman.
Nope. But Sheldon does recommend Leslie Winkle. She seems ready for a relationship because he noticed that she's been shaving her legs, which means she's ready.
She's ready.
And nobody thinks that this is a good idea. But Leonard just wants to ask her out, so he should be fine. Yeah, it's never a good idea to shit where you eat.
Yeah. Don't dip your pen in the company ink.
Nope.
You're right. But I like this scene. It's the first shot of Sarah Gilbert, right?
Yep. We go to Leslie's lab, and it's played by Sarah Gilbert. And they were actually in another TV show together back in the 90s, Roseanne, where they played love interests.
Yeah, I thought this was really interesting because, I don't know where this show is going. And in terms of time, I believe Sarah Gilbert came out as homosexual in like 2010, like publicly. But I've read that she knew that she was probably interested in women back in the 90s, and she actually did date Johnny Galecki for a while and felt like something was wrong when they would kiss, and that they broke up but have remained friends through the years and years, and that when she came out, she's kind of crediting him like, yeah, I knew from kissing him and knew from being friends with him, and that he supported me along the way. But in this case, although it's before she came out, I thought it was an interesting twist on reality that they kiss here and she feels nothing. Right? So,
great observation.
And yeah. I don't know where, if she's going to come back into the show or what, but I'm like, this is kind of hinting at reality a little bit, if people knew it or not. So that was not an IQ point, but a partial point for something that...
It's a fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact. There we go. Trivia. So he goes in and meets her at the lab, right?
Yep, he meets her at the lab, and she's heating up her cup of noodles with a 500 kilowatt oxygen iodine laser. Leonard gets a little cocky and says that he's done it before, and it takes 2 seconds. It'll take 2 seconds or 2.6 seconds for minestrone.
Did you look up anything about these lasers?
I did.
Nice. I'm curious what you heard.
You did?
I looked up a little bit. I was confused.
Right. So this is what she was using is a chemical oxygen iodine laser, aka COIL. It is an infrared chemical laser that has been developed for the Air Force, or at an Air Force lab in 1977, primarily for military applications. It's a high-powered laser that exerts a high amount of energy to a very small focused spot. The properties of this laser make it a candidate for nuclear reactor decommissioning and nuclear warhead dismantlement. I'm not really sure if they're still using it, but they actually have adapted it to commercial applications such as paint stripping, rock crushing, cleanup, survivor res- wait, cleanup and survivor rescue during disaster, and high power fiber optic transmission.
And I read somewhere too that I think it was in 2010 around there that they are actually able to use it to basically anti-missile weapons to destroy missiles like in air. So to me, it sounds like a very, very strong laser, like you said, pinpointing and obliterating whatever it's pointed at, right?
Yeah,
I mean, rock
that's what it
crushing.
sounds like.
Yeah. So with this one, I was under the impression that that cup of noodles would be obliterated. There's no heating it up; it would be gone.
Yeah, I actually did a little bit of research on how much power 500 kilowatts actually is.
Yeah,
So, first, we need to ask ourselves, what is a kilowatt? A
yeah.
kilowatt is a measure of power within an electrical system. But everything is measured in most things are measured in kilowatt hours, which is the amount of energy generated over a period of time. So if Leslie's laser ran continuously for 1 hour, then it would be classified as 500 kilowatt hours. But she did it for just a second. So in order to measure all of this for just that short amount of time and how much power it is, we actually need to transfer all this into a joule. So a joule is the international unit of measure for energy. So 1 watt is equivalent to 1 joule. So 500 kilowatts, a kilo is 1,000. So it would just be 500,000 watts, which equates to 500,000 joules. A little bit of perspective, a light bulb is 60 watts or 60 joules. So it takes 60 watts to power a light bulb. So to start a car, 74,600 joules. The amount of energy to boil water would only be 1,000 joules. And that's for a small kettle. If it's a very large kettle, it might be 3,000 joules. So Leslie's laser is 160 times stronger. It would blow that cup of noodles up.
Right. There'd at least be a fire. But I think it'd just explode. What type of electric bill are they looking at the lab?
You know what? It's on the school's dime. Who cares?
There you go.
Another little bit of perspective. A bolt of lightning exerts 1 billion joules.
Wow.
So yeah, she's playing with 500,000 joules. So compared, like, that's nothing compared to a lightning bolt, but it's a lot of something compared to like everything else in humanity.
Everything we know and use. Wow. Yeah, that cup of ramen would be gone. And what about the
Did you do any
minestrone?
other research?
No,
The
I got the same
minestrone,
thing. Minestrone, paint stripping, rock crushing. I'm really curious of learning more about the disaster cleanup because it seems like that much power would shoot right through wreckage, whatever, rubble, and might go right through somebody's head that they're trying to save. But apparently, they're able to save people with it. So,
Leonard suggests a biosocial exploration with a neurochemical overlay. And Leslie translates that to, "Are you asking me out?" Leonard goes into a very long winded explanation of the changing of the status of their relationship, which is about 90% of the jokes of the Big Bang Theory, is they're taking something simple and just changing the terminology to be like a little bit smarter. And that's supposed to be the comedy.
sound more
Which,
intelligent. But here they actually jump a lot of the date and go straight for the purpose of the date, right? They're
yep.
like, why
So,
waste a whole evening when we can just figure it out right here and now?
yep. Even though Leonard did suggest the date, pick you up, restaurant, movie, rom com, Hugh
Okay.
Grant or Sandra Bullock. And I did a little bit of research on what movies would actually be out at this time period.
I was wondering that. Was Sandra Bullock in a rom-com at that time?
For Sandra Bullock, no, she was
No.
in a horror. She was in
Ooh.
Premonition.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, back in 2007, but I think it was a lot earlier in the year.
Hmm.
And Hugh Grant was in Music and Lyrics with Drew Barrymore.
Huh.
But this episode came out in, shoot, October. I just said it. Yeah, this episode came out in October, so Music and Lyrics came out in February. So there are no Hugh Grant or Sandra Bullock movies out in this time period.
You know, I think the Hugh Grant thing, I know Hugh Grant more from rom-coms than Sandra Bullock. I felt like Sandra Bullock was a weird choice. Like, saying Meg Ryan would have made sense to me because that's what she's known for. But Sandra Bullock, I guess I still picture her in what is it, The Net, where she's a computer hacker.
I remember that.
I
That was
love
a
that
good one.
movie. I remember watching it and my friend's dad being like, "Oh, you guys just want to see it because you think Sandra Bullock's hot." And I didn't know who she was, but then I'm like, "Yeah, I do." Wow, you called that one, dude.
How dare you judge me?
I mean, you're right, but still, don't judge me.
Uh, well, they have the kiss. Just to jump ahead, it's closed mouth but romantic. They offer each other a mint. Very nice. And it needs to be spontaneous. And they kiss, and Leslie says that it was a good kiss, but no arousal.
No
They
arousal.
end the transaction, and they shake hands, and Leonard leaves. But then he's shocked that nothing happened. Like, really? Nothing at all?
And she goes through kind of the description. There's like not too much saliva. It's not too imposing, right? But no arousal. And I did a little searching. I didn't spend too much time on this, but what constitutes a good kiss? And I think this is interesting because I have no idea. Everybody's different. Everybody likes something different. And the main thing I found over and over again was being soft, easy, open, and compromising. So basically, understanding and listening to your partner, that there's no one kiss that fits all. That if your partner likes something, go for what they like, and being communicate with it.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. It's all about like it's reading the body language of your partner.
Definitely.
Like they're gonna make an action and respond to that action.
And I'm not sure if any of the guys on the show have what it takes to do that. So they just get kind of lucky.
That's true. Yeah.
So yeah, he's surprised. No arousal at all. She's like, nope, nope. And
All
he
right.
gets back home, right?
Yep, they go back to the apartment where Howard, Raj, and Sheldon are playing Jenga. Howard asked Sheldon if he was a robot and if he knew and Sheldon didn't, would he want him to tell him? Sheldon responds, would I be able to handle it? Howard responds, sci fi has shown that no, you would not be able to handle it. And Sheldon asks if he is bound by Asimov's three laws of robotics. Have you ever harmed a human being? Or through action allowed a human being to be harmed? Have you ever harmed yourself, except in cases where a human being would have been endangered? So I looked into where this came from. Did you?
Yep, a little bit.
Well, lay it on me.
I got the first step was figuring out what Rule 3 was, and I've heard these laws before. Very popular, not just in the realm of fiction, but uh, ethics and robot ethics and AI ethics. But we have the don't hurt humans. We have obey humans unless it conflicts with Rule 1. And the third law was to protect itself unless protecting itself conflicts with Rule 1 or 2. And so the question is, if he's hurt a human, then he can't be a robot because he has broken one of the rules and is not, bound by robotic ethics and morality. But it does come from Isaac Asimov, right? And he wrote about it in a short story called Runaround, which was published in a collection of stories called I, Robot, which eventually became a Will Smith movie, right?
Yeah, I actually did. I dove into that, but apparently the movie that Will Smith did in 2004 is relatively unrelated to Asimov.
I
That
could,
was actually more related to a screenplay called Hardwired by Jeff Vintar.
huh. So they just took the name,
Yeah, they just took the name.
like Super Mario Brothers.
I'll never let that go.
And I think this is interesting because these laws have become very, very grounded in our reality, but they were completely fictional. Asimov made them up, but he was so big with sci-fi that he created a reality where his robots are always going to follow these rules, because if humans decide to make AI or are able to make AI, then to keep things safe and keep things rational, they need to follow certain rules. And that served a purpose of making his stories interesting, adding conflict, interesting conflict. While in reality, we're like, that makes sense. We should kind of carry those rules over, and they've continued, even though they were fictional, to serve a part of our reality.
Yeah, it really reminds me of like it's like you said, it's very grounded in reality now as we're getting more and more into artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
They're building robots that look just like humans. I follow some engineering stuff on Instagram, and they have like some crazy looking robots that just like look just like humans. Like, do you ever watch Westworld?
Yes.
Yeah, it reminds me of that it goes into the philosophical question of basically Asimov's law.
Mm-hmm.
So Leonard returns. The guys are having this conversation, and they're playing Jenga because the internet has been down for a half hour.
I like that that's thrown in there, just kind of a side comment. Like, why would you guys be playing Jenga? It's internet's down.
Yep, sounds about right. It's hard when the internet goes down these days.
Yes, yes, it is. It's becoming something that, like, it's kind of like the power going out. Like, it doesn't happen that often. So when it does happen, I'm like, the world has ended. What do I do now with myself?
Yeah, it totally is. I'm lost without the internet. Without my Twitter, without my Instagram, my YouTubes.
I need my tubes. I need my tubes.
Well, Leonard tells them about Leslie and his experience, and he says that the Earth didn't move except for the 383 miles that it was going to move anyways.
Mm-hmm. There's no
Which goes
arousal.
into the next IQ point.
IQ point
How
time.
fast does the Earth move? So they kissed for about 2 seconds. I timed it. And I was trying to get the math right to where he got 383 miles. So when I looked into this, the Earth moves around the sun at 30 kilometers per second. We also have to consider that it's rotating as well. So the Earth rotates on its axis 460 meters per second. And I was doing some research on all of this, and I was looking into the how they got their facts, how they got like who was helping them figure out all the math and everything like that. And they were talking to these science students, and they couldn't figure it out either. They're like, well, how do you do this? Like I want to learn more about this. And there's actually a third variable in the equation on how you figure out how fast they're actually going, is that we forget that our solar system is revolving around the universe.
The Big
So
Bang origin, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
so not only is the Earth moving around the sun at a certain speed, it's rotating at a certain speed, and our entire galaxy is moving around too. So I spent a long time trying to figure out the math to get it to be 383 miles, and honestly I couldn't, and I feel like I just got the timing wrong, because even like a millisecond, adding a millisecond alters what the math actually is. So I had my stopwatch and was like timing their kiss. It was like a little over 2 seconds.
What number did you come up with? How far did the Earth travel?
I got 248 miles.
That's pretty close. I was
Actually,
thinking
wait.
within 100 miles is.
Actually, sorry. I got 285. I was looking at the wrong number.
Oh.
I got 285 miles, which is about 98 miles off from what he said. So I was about 100 miles off.
But you were counting the kiss from lips starting to touch to ending
Yes.
touch. Because some people would consider part of the kiss as the actual leaning in for the kiss.
Oh.
And this is
That would
something.
add another second, which would pretty much get me where the math actually is.
And there's some talk about sex later on that this becomes an issue. So, how long does sex actually last? That'll be coming up. And then,
Well, Leonard. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, Sheldon says, "Oh, this is great. Now he's gonna be listening to emo music and talking about cats."
And Raj responds that he could just power down.
And just power down. Because he's a robot.
And then Howard says that he has a solution and that he could bring Leonard to a place with eligible women and Leonard could have his pick. They go salsa dancing.
Salsa dancing.
Yep, where apparently Howard has some experience with Mrs. Tishman. He's been there. He's in for a treat.
He's in for a treat. It's a good thing. And this reminded me of college. I actually took a ballroom dancing class in undergrad. I was like, I need a PE class. I'm terrible at PE and physical sports and labor. But I'm like, I can take a dancing class. It'd be cool to know some dance moves. I'm still terrible at dancing, but and I'm like, maybe I'll meet a girl or two. And I think that's a lot of people go to dancing classes to meet girls. I would say 90% of the people were already in relationships and they were taking it to do a class with their partner. And so I was kind of sad there, but I did end up meeting two girls and practicing with them quite a bit. And we did not get along. It was very, I don't know, oil and water type reaction where they were yelling at me for not being on beat. I was yelling at them for stepping on my feet. And when it came to the final exam where we had to demonstrate our skills in class, my partner wore flip-flops to the tango. And I'm like, you're tangoing backwards and your flip-flops are falling off. And she's like, well, maybe if you got on beat. I'm like, we have so many problems. So I don't think dancing is a great place to go to meet women.
So you're saying the earth didn't move for you?
It did not move. There was no arousal.
Yeah. Where would I go? Like, where did I go to meet women? Yeah, I didn't meet a lot of women. So,
yeah, right?
yeah,
That's now that I think about it, I didn't really meet women.
So, yeah, if you're coming to us for relationship advice, don't.
Don't. We're here to talk about pseudoscience that we know nothing about, not romance.
Because we have no PhD.
No PhDs.
Leonard comes back to the apartment singing what I'm guessing is an emo song, because that's what Sheldon predicted. I looked into the song. It is a song called Boston by Augustana.
I love this song. I remember moving after undergrad, moving to Nebraska and listening to this song. And of course, moving from Pennsylvania to Nebraska is not the same as the girl in the song moving from California to Massachusetts, but I like to think it was an epic move. And so I'd listen to the song and be like, yeah, I'm cool.
I've actually never heard of this song.
Really?
And, yeah, even like I looked into it, like how popular it was, and I don't recall this song at all. But it made it to number 34 of the Billboard Top 100, and it has appeared in other shows, Scrubs, Smallville, Hidden Palms, and One Tree Hill.
I'm
But I've
surprised
never heard.
Smallville was
I never
still
heard it.
on at that time.
It was like 10 seasons.
It was 10
Yeah, so it
seasons?
was
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I'm surprised you probably heard it. You just don't remember. It didn't stick out for some reason.
It
But
may be. It's
yeah,
very it's funny how like music, like you can listen to, well, not necessarily, but you can listen to a song and really think about its style and know what era it's from.
yeah,
This one screams 2000s.
definitely. It's definitely in that emo stage of Panic at the Disco, Say Anything. Oh man, I was a big fan of emo music. I still am.
Weren't we all?
Yeah, so
We've all been
emo.
18 before. Well, Leonard says, "Oh, great song," and Sheldon says, "That's a great song if you're compiling a mix CD for a double suicide."
Which
And then
is
Leonard pulls out a scratching post,
showing that he's
and
thinking about cats again, right?
yep, and he has Sheldon's asthma in mind. That Leonard has thought of it, so he's looking into a hypoallergenic calico.
A genetically altered kitty cat.
Yep. So I looked into those as well, and according to bluecross.org.uk, that true hyperallergenic cats do not exist.
Ooh.
That there are some cats better than others in terms of allergies. So some cats are more recommended over others for allergy sufferers due to how much protein they produce. There's a protein in their saliva, skin, and urine, and that gets on their hair and they start shedding, and that's kind of where it gets everywhere. So there are certain cats that shed more or produce more of the dander that they are not recommended. So there are specific breeds out there that produce less of that protein and less dander. So, if you are allergic to cats and you want to get one, these are the breeds that you should be looking at. There is the Siberian, the Russian Blue, a Bengal, Burmese, or the Sphinx.
I was gonna say the Sphinx is the hairless one, right?
Are they all hairless?
Are they all hairless? I was just remembering the Sphinx. How
Is it
many?
because of Friends?
Yeah, because
Like
of
Sheldon?
Friends. That's how I know it. They really creep me out too. Like I don't imagine petting it. Like I imagine petting like a slab of meat when I would touch a cat like that. Like it's weird.
I've never had the opportunity.
Yeah, maybe it's different. Maybe it's a fun and cuddling experience, but to me, it seems a little terrifying.
I like furry things.
Yeah, the fur is cuddle, right?
So Leonard is brainstorming some names. He's thinking about Einstein, Newton, or Sergeant Fuzzy Boots.
Sergeant Fuzzy Boots.
Thus, the name of the episode.
That's where the title comes from.
And I don't understand. I think about this a lot where lonely people or depressed people want to get cats. And I feel like that's like the worst thing you could do. Because if you've ever owned a cat, I've had several cats in my life, which I've loved to death. They're so amazing. I love them. But if you're lonely and you're looking for companionship, you should get a dog.
Yeah, I'm a huge dog person. I'm not a fan of cats. I have a cat right now, and yeah, if I was depressed, she would not make my life worth living.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck about you.
No, not at
Cats
all.
don't care about you. I,
Hmm.
I I knew my cat loved me, but I know she didn't care about me.
Yeah. And it's weird that we're able to make that distinction, but it's there. There's love, but it's not an affectionate sort of love. It's not caring.
Yeah, whereas a dog will like love you so much.
And if something's wrong, they come to your side and say, "Hey, buddy, what's wrong? Can I help?"
They know when you're upset. Like when I'm upset, my dog knows it. If my wife is upset, my dog knows it, and she'll
Hmm.
actually like jump over to us and like kind of make us feel better, or kind of like, they'll look at you and be like, "Hey, what's wrong?" It's
Yeah.
like
Can we
cats don't
talk
do
about
that.
this? Well, let's fix it. Cats on the other end say, "Give me some food, and then I'm going back to bed."
Yeah, just feed me and fuck off.
Yeah, that is but at least I'm lucky I have a cat that does not scratch me. She has never scratched me.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, so as thankful
Let's
as
hope it
I
stays
am,
that way.
that's That's love there with cats, is if they don't scratch you.
Pretty much.
And so,
Have they marked you?
mark me.
My cat used to pee on me every once in a while to like mark me. I was like, "Well, are you fucking serious?"
She has not done that. She has had a few accidents, and I think they're accidents because they happened when has been really scared when visiting dogs have come over.
Yeah, I can see that. If it's not a familiar animal,
Yeah.
and dogs are very playful, they're very loud. Cats don't like that.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly. But she's never actually marked me that I know of. Maybe I stink and nobody's told me. I was wondering why
Marked
my
you,
cat
you
was
didn't even
soaked.
know it.
So
All right.
Sheldon starts talking to he's trying to get Leonard to not get the cat, right? And his trying to talk him out of it goes astray. And he leads into saying that technically Leonard never asked Penny out. He can't feel rejected if he never put himself out there.
Yep. And then Leonard responds with, "I should ask her out." And
And she,
Sheldon freaks out. No, the point is, don't get a
don't
cat.
get a cat.
But Leonard is convinced and he goes to ask out Penny, where Sheldon feels defeated. Oh, goody, we're getting a cat. Knowing that he's going to be rejected and fall back into the depression.
There's no way out of it. They're going to get a
Yep.
cat.
So Leonard goes over to ask out Penny. He's super nervous and he knocks on her door, asks if she has plans for dinner. And then it goes into the difference between dinner and supper. And here's an IQ point.
IQ point.
According to Webster's dictionary, dinner and supper are both used to refer to the main meal of the day, and especially to that meal as eaten in the evening. Supper is used especially when the meal is an informal one eaten at home, while dinner tends to be the term chosen when the meal is more formal.
Interesting.
I've never used the term supper in my
Really?
life. Never.
Well, I get like biblical, the Last Supper, right?
Well, I guess
Which
I've
is
used that
and
term when I'm talking about it, but in my own life.
in Nebraska, when I was working on the news, I learned that people differentiate the two, and I always get them flip flop because I grew up thinking they're basically synonymous. And in Nebraska, they would put, I believe it was dinner as kind of the main meal, and supper as like a later snack. And when we gave the weather, they would break up the day by breakfast, dinner, and supper. And I was like, what happened to lunch? And they're like, oh, we don't say lunch here. And my mind was blown.
So, what did they call the midday meal?
It was dinner.
So, like at noon, when you're taking a break from work, you'd have dinner.
Potentially. And, you think of more traditional lives. So, like, even, the way I remembered it is people would have dinner after church on Sundays, and they usually ended up having it around like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And it was like a big family dinner. And then people would go home, maybe eat a little snack later that evening, but the big meal of the day was that. And it was held, kind of like a brunch, where brunch is after breakfast, but before lunch. This was after lunch, but before the last meal.
Interesting. I had no idea.
So apparently there's different definitions and interpretations of these words that
Where do you think that lands with a hobbit?
ooh,
There's breakfast, second breakfast, elevensies, lunch,
lunch.
afternoon tea.
I'm sure they have multiple suppers and multiple dinners, both
God, I
formal
wish I was a
and
hobbit.
informal.
Life would just be so much more simple if we were all hobbits.
Seriously.
Well, Penny assumes it's dinner with the whole group. She name drops everyone, even says she likes hanging out with Howard. She even name dropped Howard.
And Leonard's
Found that
like,
laughable.
they might be there, and he in his head's like, no, they're not coming. Uh, but they're setting up a time too, right? And I love this joke that he goes, "It's not set in stone," and she goes, "No, 6:30 works for me." And he's like, "I'll get my chisel," and she's like, "Why?" I'm like,
I loved her reaction so much. It was so earnest. It was like, why?
"Why?" I've had people look that way at me so frequently. I feel like if that had been Sheldon, this would be a point for Sheldon, but it was not Sheldon. But I'll make a joke, and people are like, "Why?" I'm like, "It was part of the joke I was saying." And they're like, "Oh, awkward."
Oh. Leonard is nervous and sweaty. Sheldon says that the dark crescent shapes disguise the fact that he's sweaty. And Leonard is 2 hours and 15 minutes early from getting ready. And I feel like we've all been there at some point where we're very nervous about something, so we over prepare, we get like really ahead of things. So he's just doing a normal thing.
You're ready for like 2 hours, and you're just sitting there. What's the word? Not dreading, but overthinking everything going to happen and getting yourself more and more anxious and nervous.
And that's exactly what Leonard is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard asks Sheldon to lie if it ever comes up, and he can't join because he's already eaten Quiznos. And then Leonard continues to freak out, wants to cancel, but Sheldon assures him that alcohol and poor judgment could lead to a great night.
That's a big note I have right here: alcohol and poor judgment. The
The story of my life.
story of my life. Yep. Oh, and then he makes the statement like it could go well, or they could both hate each other, and it could be awkward until one moves to another zip code. And reminds me of a reference in the last episode that his previous girlfriend moved to Russia, right? No, North Korea.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's some information to back that up that they probably would move to a different zip code.
Well, they said Joyce Kim defected back to North Korea. More on that later. Put a pin in that guy.
It's coming back sooner or later.
Well, then Leonard continues to spiral, and he's running scenarios in his mind. It goes to sex, and then he just like freaks out and starts having a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
And Sheldon tells him to calm down, and he just basically tells him to close his eyes and increase his alpha wave activity.
And this is an IQ point.
Yes, it is.
Definitely.
So that it's a biofeedback technique. It's a relaxation through brainwave manipulation, and Sheldon just looks for his science journal to explain how it works, forgetting Leonard. But what is alpha wave activity? Do you want to take this one?
Oh, no, you've got it. I'll just chime in here and there.
All right. So alpha wave activity, according to healthline.com. Alpha wave activity is one of 5 brain waves. There's delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma. Alpha waves in the brainwave spectrum, alpha waves falls in the middle, and these waves occur when you're calm, unstressed. Studies have shown that you can train your brain to create these waves on a regular basis. And that's actually what Sheldon is talking about. He's talking about biofeedback therapy, which ultimately, if you sum it up in a nutshell, is pretty much meditation. There's deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, guided imagery, which is a concentration of a specific image, such as the color and texture of an orange. So this is actually a real thing. So you could actually train yourself to always be calm and cool and unstressed and everything. And meditation is a really good way to do it.
And that's what I was finding too. That one of the first studies was talking about biofeedback, and I was having difficulty following what does that mean. And then the next follow up study was basically saying learn to meditate. And I'm like, okay, meditation puts your brain into the right state for was it the 8 to 12 hertz range, which is the alpha wave. But the question is, do the alpha waves make you feel calm, or do you get alpha waves because you have calmed down? It's a chicken or egg thing.
Very true. I didn't even think about that.
But yeah, so Sheldon runs off, but says these alpha waves will help you calm down if you learn to do it. But they themselves don't know how to do it because he has to go find the book.
Either that or Sheldon just doesn't care about Leonard and just wants to find a magazine for him to read. Just read this. I'm not going to guide you through anything.
That sounds like a Sheldon.
So Leonard wants Sheldon to cancel for him and say he's sick, but just the right amount of sick. Nothing venereal. Just a routine colonoscopy. And he hasn't bounced back.
Routine
and Leonard rushes off to shower again.
That's they mention he has time to air off that he smells too strongly, and so he goes back to shower. I'm like, hopefully that takes care of the problem. And the sweat stains as well, the crescents.
Yep. Well, in the next scene, you'll see that he's wearing a different shirt.
Complete new get up,
completely different outfit. Smart move.
And
so at dinner, oh, sorry.
I was going to say that the colonoscopy comes right back into play, and he says, "Oh, Sheldon couldn't make it. He had a colonoscopy."
Yep. And Raj and Howard had to work.
Yeah.
So that's why it's just the two of them. And Leonard is like really just stretching to find a connection with Penny.
Mm-hmm.
As everyone does when they have a crush on someone. They just look for reasons to build that connection.
I feel like she's trying to make a connection too. I don't know if she's into him at all, but she does ask him, is there anything new in physics? And
yeah, she's just trying to open up the conversation and like show interest in him,
mm-hmm.
which is really nice of her.
Yeah, and I don't think he realizes what she's doing there, right? Because he laughs at her and is like, nothing's new in physics.
Yeah, it's so literal. It's like, nothing. Duh.
And I actually made a note to do background, like, how's anything been proven or new in physics? And then I just wrote, fuck it, because I don't even know where to begin researching that. So I don't know if you came up with anything, but I assume that that's true. Physics has not.
Well, I looked into string theory in itself just because so string theory is going to play a major role in the storyline of this series because that is the subject matter that Sheldon is in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's like I didn't go that deep into it because I know we're going to be talking about a lot in the future. So we'll research it more and more as it gets brought up. But string theory was first studied in the 1960s. String theory proposes that the fundamental constituent. All right. String theory shit.
Words are hard to pronounce today.
I know. I just copied and pasted this. String theory proposes that the fundamental constituents of the universe are one-dimensional strings, in quotes, rather than point-like particles. What we perceive as particles are actually vibrations in loops of string, each with its own characteristic frequency. So that was like pretty much what string theory is in a nutshell. I think you and I are going to be doing a lot more research in the future, but for now it's like I had so many other things to research in this episode that I just want to postpone this deep dive.
And the way I understand that is basically if you look under a microscope, and we can't actually look this closely because nothing breaks down this small, but you get molecules, you get atoms, and then atoms are made up of particles, neutrons, protons, electrons, and you break those down into smaller particles, and then basically beneath that, in theory, there are strings either connected or open making vibrations, and the vibrations they make create what we see as these particles. But we will do more research. That is just off the top of my head how I've understood and perceived it through the years.
I have no words right now. Well, anyways, what's new at the Cheesecake Factory? Penny says that there's a chocolate key lime that's been moving, which sounds horrible. A chocolate key lime pie.
Uh-huh.
And I looked into that one, and it's not a real flavor.
It's not a real flavor.
It's not. I did a little bit of research. There's a lot. They have like a key lime cheesecake. They have multiple chocolate flavors and everything, but in history, at least from what I've seen, they've never had a chocolate key lime. So I'm wondering if the writers just said that because they're like, sounds gross.
Yeah. I wonder if that's actually a lot of chocolate mixed with the key lime, or if it's a key lime topped with like a drizzle of chocolate. Because I could see that. I could see that.
My first instinct would be a chocolate graham cracker crust with a key lime cheesecake filling. That's where my mind went.
I don't know. I could see it working. I could see it working. A little tart, a little limey, sour, mixed with the bitter sweet chocolate.
Are you suggesting that we should create a recipe?
I think maybe. Let's do it.
All right, let's. Maybe we will. You know what? If I do, I'll tweet it. The chocolate key lime.
For the next episode, we taste test and get very sick.
Rob and Ryan die. That's ending the podcast.
They made it to episode 4. Dun dun dun.
Well, Leonard moves the conversation along about Doug, and Penny admits that she went out with him because she's not over Kurt, and Doug is just for rebound sex. And again, Leonard tries to connect with Penny by saying, "Ugh, don't you tell me about rebound sex," like he knows all about it. And Penny says that it's just 36 meaningless hours of sex. And Leonard needs a little bit of clarification. Is that 36 hours all at once? Is it a weekend?
I appreciate his question because I was wondering the same thing. I'm like, whoa.
Is it one glorious summer? And Penny says it's usually a weekend and it never feels good.
Yeah.
And Leonard takes it very literal and asks if it's because of chafing. It's like, no, it's emotional.
It's emotional.
The emotional chafing.
And this is where I came into, as I said earlier, a little research on sex. And the longest sex had, and I guess it's very difficult to report these or prove them. There are porn stars who have claimed to have had sex for days on end, hours and hours, with hundreds of guys. But, I was kind of trying to stick to one guy, one partner with another partner, one guy, woman, one woman, one woman. And I feel like when you start changing it up, it's unfair numbers. If you start making it multiple people, yeah. Anyways, so one-on-one sex, we get ScienceNorway.no says on their studies, they found people had sex with between 55 seconds to 44 minutes, with the average being 7 to 15 minutes worth of sex. And my brain immediately went to, well, isn't Sting known for talking about tantric sex? And that he made a comment years ago saying that he would have sex for 8 hours at a time. And I did a little research into this, and apparently that quote's been taken out of context, and he's basically come forward and saying that sex is an ongoing act, and that the romance is all part of it. So when he says, I have sex for 7-8 hours, that's part of the date and the foreplay leading up to the actual physical act of sex. And so we should open our brains, just like kisses, that kissing isn't just the lip-on-lip action, it's the build-up. And that if the kiss is going to be good, whatever's happened beforehand is going to help make it good. If the sex is going to be good, the initial play up to it and what's gone on the whole day beforehand is going to make the sex good.
Interesting. So it's saying that, like, it's the build-up of everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's so if you're on a date and it's going really well, there's sexual tension, there's this build up, there's this anticipation, and that's all part of it.
It's going to make the emotions more intense when things get down and dirty.
All right. Or up and clean.
Up and clean. 36 hours of cleanliness. And so he decides to show her an olive trick. They get off the sex talk and the chafing and emotionally feeling bad. And I did another research on this. Centrifugal and centripetal forces. Did you look into that?
I skipped this one.
You skipped this one?
I skipped this one.
I assumed it was all centrifugal force, but apparently centrifugal is what causes, when something's going around in a circle, what causes things to be forced outward. Centripetal force is the force that makes something move around in a circle. So centripetal causes centrifugal force. And so I figured he's right that I was with Penny. I didn't realize that there was a difference or even different terms for this.
Oh, I thought that she was just pronouncing it wrong. She got it right, but it was the wrong usage of it.
It was the wrong usage, that it was a different force. And that's what I looked up too, that I was thinking that she just completely misspoke it, but apparently it was just the wrong force.
I had no idea.
Yeah. IQ point.
We just got an IQ
right?
point.
That's one IQ point for Ryan. I'm at 1.
So how many IQ points until we get that PhD?
It's got to be at least 3, right?
We're there. Cancel this podcast. We are now the PhD necessary podcast.
Yeah. You need 3 IQ points to join us.
Well, Leonard drops the olive, bumps his head, asks if Penny spilled ketchup, and nope, he's not okay.
And he doesn't go to a hospital, but they talk about that on the way home. He's throwing up outside the car, right?
Yeah, and she asks if that is a sign of a concussion, and he plays it off that it's car sick. That he plays it off as if he's car sick, but for anybody out there, we looked into the telltale signs if you have a concussion. So if you do hit your head and if you're feeling any of these symptoms, headache or pressure in the head, nausea or vomiting, balance problems or dizziness or double or blurry vision, bothered by light or noise, feeling sluggish, hazy, foggy, or groggy, confusion or concentration or memory problems, or just not feeling right, there's a good chance you have a concussion.
Yeah, I was going to say, my mom got a concussion once. She actually slipped on ice and didn't hit her head, but just fell down on her rump, and it jarred her spine all the way up into her skull and caused a concussion. And it was all about memory loss and being confused. She didn't really get sick, but that confusion definitely set in.
So yeah. What happened? Did you have to take her to the hospital?
Yeah, they took her to the hospital, and they watched her, monitored her for a while, and she kind of came back too and was fine. But it was definitely like, we think of concussions as bad headaches, but yeah, if you're feeling sick after hitting your head or falling down, you probably should go to the hospital just to make sure.
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So Penny asks if this was supposed to be a date. And I thought that Penny was being really nice about the whole thing. Like, she wasn't judgy. She wasn't like kind of mean about it or anything like that. She was just kind of like curious, like, oh, was this supposed to be a date? Were you asking me out?
Very genuine. Not like she would be against it being a date, but just how do I interpret this type thing.
Yeah, she just wanted a little definition of what and where their relationship is going to be.
Mm-hmm. And he says no.
Leonard tries to pull it off. Like, he tries to act cooler than cool, that if he's on a date, she knows she's being dated.
She's being dated by me. And after saying those words, he's maybe I do have a concussion.
But then he says I should go lie down. So then
Yeah.
I did some more research and like you're not supposed to lie down. You're not supposed to go to sleep. At least that's what I thought of.
Yeah.
And but there has been new research. So again, everyone, we have no PhDs. We found our information on Google. Take this with several grains of salt.
So much salt.
Um, According to medicalnewstoday.com, that's actually a thing of the past. We used to think that lying down if you had a concussion would result into falling into a coma or dying. As long as somebody wakes the person regularly and monitors their symptoms, there is no harm. But again, it's kind of like how do you monitor them? How do you like make sure that they're okay? Play it safe, go to a doctor.
Yeah. And
Don't
what's
like just
regular? Like every
so
minute?
yeah, it's very vague and cryptic and everything. It's like, you know what? You may not fall into a coma, but still play it safe.
Yeah. That's what our IQ points tell us today. Play it safe, go to a doctor.
Yeah. So then Leonard rushes back just to get out of the situation. He walks in, and Raj and Sheldon are playing a game again, and they ask how the date went. And Leonard is either lying or completely delusional because he just has the biggest smile on his face and he says it was awesome.
That's awesome. So he was just saying, oh, it definitely wasn't a date. If it was a date, you would know it was a date. Girls always know they're being dated. The date was awesome.
It was awesome. And Sheldon responds, score one for liquor and poor judgment.
That's my final note. Score one for liquor and poor judgment. Now that's a line.
And that's the episode.
That's the episode.
What'd you think about this episode overall?
You know, I liked it's giving a little bit more characterization to how Leonard wants to go about this romance, and Penny's acknowledging the romance. And I like that Sheldon wasn't necessarily the focus of this episode, but he had some very witty background lines. And so, yeah, I like kind of seeing the development of the romance, and how they're going to handle that. And I just think that Penny and Leonard together have some really funny lines. So, like the chisel. Like, chisel. Why?
I like this episode because it advanced Leonard's interest in Penny. That he actually made a move. He actually went for it. He was reaching outside of his comfort zone.
And I
which is something that all of us need to do at some point.
The notion that it's easy to feel down and poor and depressed before you even attempt something, and that you shouldn't make up your mind or feel a certain way before you actually put yourself out there. And that's exactly what's going on here, is he's trying to put himself out there. Doesn't completely know or understand how, but he's trying.
Yeah, he went for it, and there's a lot of respect in that, because I know how hard it can be just to ask out somebody that you like. It's always a hard thing.
And to be shot down, or you know, for it to work out or not work out, it's, you know, feels like a concussion, I suppose, where he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And
he actually did it twice. He asked out Leslie, and then he asked out Penny, so he's getting some practice in.
Yeah, I really liked Leslie's guest starring, and from while I was doing a little research, I hear she comes back up. I didn't want to ruin anything too much for me, but did see that she does become a reoccurring character. I'm like, that's great, because I know them from, they were my favorite characters in Roseanne back in the 90s. Well, the father as well, Tom Arnold, right? What's his name?
John Goodman.
John Goodman. Tom Arnold was in it, though, right? For the early episodes.
I never actually... It's funny that I know these things, but I never watched it. I like John Goodman just overall. Him as like a person and an actor.
Yeah, Tom Arnold was in it for a little bit, but I'm thinking of John Goodman. They were like the first show I've ever saw those guys in, so you know, I like their characters. But Darlene and what's his character in Roseanne? Leonard.
Oh, I don't know his name.
But,
like I said, I've never actually watched it. I have no idea what I know one of the sisters' name is Becky because I know Sarah Chalk played her, and it was like a big thing where they had one actress playing her, and then it switched out, and it switched out to Sarah Chalk, who was actually Elliot in Scrubs, and I
Yeah,
love Scrubs.
blonde doctor, right?
Yep.
And like there's like no real explanation. It's just one episode, like it's a new character, and they just pretend that she's been the same person the whole time.
Yeah, they did that with Fresh Prince too, with
Really?
Aunt Viv. Yeah, no explanation, just changed the actor.
I've heard a little bit about that. I see. I never watched Fresh Prince really. I've seen a
It's
couple
good.
episodes.
Yeah, it's really good. Uncle Phil, he is like the American dad, like the American like '90s dad. He was great.
I've heard good things. I don't know why I've just and I didn't watch that much Roseanne either. I think I was more of a Full House type guy.
Yep, I was really into Full House.
Which is weird because I watched none of the follow up Fuller House.
I watched the first like 5 or 6 episodes, and I couldn't really get into it
Uh,
because I didn't really see any growth from the humor. They basically took the exact same humor style and they
Kept
just
it
adapted it
going.
over, and that's where I was like, I'm not like this was great when I was a kid. As an adult, it's just a little cringy.
Yeah, we grew up. They should too.
Yeah, like they didn't evolve. They yeah, it was yeah, not worth it.
Ah, sad. Hey, the other one, Girl Meets World. I never watched any of that, but Boy Meets World I was really into.
Yeah, same thing.
Hmm,
Yeah.
weird.
Well, it was a good episode.
Good episode. Looking forward to the next one. I watched the first little bit, and Sheldon puts his foot in his mouth at a social event. So I feel like maybe there's going to be a point or two for the Sheldon scale.
All right. Did you already did you already look into it, or did you already watch it?
I just watched like the first like 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us today. Please leave a review. We're on Spotify, Apple, and Stitcher. It would really help us out. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. And see you next time when we talk about episode 4 of season 1, The Luminous Fish Effect.
Woohoo! Thanks, everyone.
This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch along. No PhD necessary. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Grohl. Please remember to leave us a review on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Stitcher, or send us an email at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. All right, I'm gonna start over. This is hard.
Yes, it is.